Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the Pembroke Fire Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 14. Happy Valentine's Day, 2024. Roll call. Stan, yes. David?
Present.
Ken? Not yet. Tom?
Here.
Donna? Not. John?
Yes, here.
Brian?
Here.
Okay. That makes that part official.
Donna is. Here's Don.
Oh. The refrigerator arrived. I'm not calling you a refrigerator.
It arrived damaged, but got sent back.
Not 3 months.
Oh,
3
okay.
months.
Yeah, officially changing the notes to indicate that Donna is present. Ken is the only missing member. I am going to pass this around the table. Okay, everybody's name is on it. What it says is jacket size. Write down either small, medium, large, extra large, super, whatever you want, and a number if you know it. If you don't, the initial, the letter, right. Yes, sir.
Just wanted to mention to the group that there are materials here on the table if you need them. They're all separated, so please take what you need.
Indeed, thank you.
You're the best, Bob. So they sell me.
No, I don't. Thomas. Dan.
What was the number?
Jacket size. Exterior, outside jacket size. Mr. Wong, do we have any visitors from the outside world?
There are none.
There are none. Thank you very much. The minutes of our last meeting were provided, assuming we have all read them, which I have. Are there any omissions or corrections? I hear none. Do I hear a motion to accept minutes as provided? That's it.
You made the motion?
Second motion. Second the motion. Do I hear the first motion?
Yeah, I'll move. I can't move. I wasn't here last week or last month.
That's true.
I'll
Okay.
motion
David Booth,
for approval.
John second, and they are accepted as provided. Annual wildfire safety mailer presentation.
Presentation might be too strong of a word. Conversation.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Quinn Gardner, Deputy Director of Emergency Management. I've got Justin on my team with me. He designed the 2022, right?
That's correct.
Mailer and has taken the lead on this year's mailer. So you have the report that was mailed out with the previous year's mailers. You maybe you notice like every year the theme and the information kind of changes and kind of the energy and the vibe, and kind of just wanted to we haven't started designing it yet. We usually try to get it in mailboxes in the July timeframe, maybe a little bit earlier if possible, although we usually end up tweaking until it's feels much later. And so I had a couple of questions kind of listed out on your kind of memo report, if you will, in terms of thoughts. So, you know, if there's anything on the previous mailers, and these do get printed and mailed to mailboxes via USPS. And we also mail them to every address on the tax record for owners outside the area. So for people that rent, the renter that resides in San Rafael gets the information, as well as the person that owns the property, because they might more than likely have the legal responsibility. The first year was a very intense one, lots of handouts. That was right after we had updated our municipal code after the wildfire committee had kind of made those recommendations. And so it was really a heavy-handed, hey, we really need you to know this information. And then we kind of roll into more educational resource, et cetera. So just wondering kind of if you had thoughts in terms of what the community might respond to at this point in time, in terms of how do we spur action. Our goal is always to be an educational and supportive resource, but we do also are in the process of issuing fines for extreme hazards on properties and folks that are refusing to comply. So with that, I just kind of want to open it up for your feedback.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this also available as a online link?
Yes, so in the report, those links are where they live online, and we actually have them on the website as like exactly that. Here's our mailer from this year, and this year. Especially the 2021 mailer, we referenced a lot and sent to people a lot because it was a lot of really good information consolidated. Ones that get a little more postcardy, don't end up being as great of online resources, but, we always have extras that we'll hand out and have available in the lobby and things like that as well.
The reason I was asking is, I live in an area that has a homeowners association.
Mhm.
And I would encourage them to repost it or to post it
Sure.
on their site. And say, pay attention to section 3.9
Sure.
or 2.8 or whatever,
Or this is
Because
coming,
we
and
live-
read it.
you know. What it was.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because we live in a woods.
Mhm.
And, it's forever in the world of maintenance.
Mhm.
As it should be. But just, every reminder that they can get, the better.
sure.
Hey, Quinn, can we also post it on social media and
Yeah.
Nextdoor and kind of blast it out to all
Yeah.
those channels?
Yeah, we definitely can and will. I think some of it is like, what is the it, right? Like,
Yeah.
do we go with a peer pressure approach this year? Like, hey, all your neighbors did it. What about you? Is it like hey, did you know this free thing is available? Is it hey, we're coming for you, tickets are in mailboxes kind of approach? And
Yes.
that's kind of, but that's like where we are, right?
I would
Carrot
go,
or stick?
did you know, or be helpful?
And-
Those would be my two approaches,
See, I
because
feel
I
like-
would be pissed off if I'm getting lectured by the government on.
Getting tired. I feel like we've been so patient. I've been given so many warnings and I still see extremely hazardous materials in people's yards that I feel like, you know what? It's like the freeways. If you don't give them a ticket, they're gonna keep on speeding and they don't wanna be bothered. Or you're willing to do it for people that can't afford to have it done. You're willing to help. I just feel like you have to get out the pistol and threaten a little bit at this point, because we've been really nice about this for what, at least 3 years, right? I think nice guys are finishing last at this point, but that's Donna talking.
Is there a sense, Quinn, for the risk and how much of the risk has been mitigated over time?
Yeah.
And how
So,
extreme, like to Donna's point, how necessary is a heavier hand, given what's happened already?
so I'd say of our enforcement list, we've gotten almost like 90% or so to comply. And the enforcement list is really focused on lots of juniper and Italian cypress, things that are really like community risks, evacuation routes, things like that. We have not issued tickets.
90%?
Have made the transition. Now, the thing is that's not 90% of all the hazards that are out there.
Yeah,
That's once somebody kind of got onto our enforcement process. So our enforcement process is the nice steps first, is the educational step first, then there's the courtesy letter that says, we're coming with a ticket next time.
yeah.
And then they get the ticket and then, and we've got about 400 or so properties that are probably gonna enter that process here in the next month or two.
Mhm.
So we're not sure of those 400 that like maybe end of season might have done something. We haven't seen it since. They haven't sent us verification. So it's a really labor intensive process. Every time we issue a ticket, we're back on property, re-verifying there's a hazard there, the collection of those fines, et cetera. So I'd say there are hundreds of homes that still have significant work. And then just when it comes to Italian cypress and juniper. And then there's a lot of homes where we've never seen the backyard, right? Or they have still a very unmaintained wall of bamboo, which we haven't started citing yet.
But
But
you haven't.
not finding, but we do tell people they should change it. So we've been escalating and some of that's what's easier and not easier. And bamboo, a lot of what we're pushing is how do we get you down to like no deeper than a foot that you can maintain well? So we're not necessarily in like a total removal for bamboo push. Because there are ways people can maintain bamboo in a really healthy, generally adapted way, and it serves a purpose from a fire, privacy screening, whatever the case may be. So we're trying to always balance that. It's interesting though, as you kind of say, like graphically, I'm thinking like, is time running out, right? Like, are you balancing your landscape and risk? Like, I can think of like visuals around those concepts that might be able to kind of do both. But some of that's just kind of how we let it play out, I guess. I don't know. So there is definitely still a need. And then on top of that, there's the seasonal maintenance aspect, right? And that's one of the reasons we try to send in that July timeframe is hey, let's get your grasses mowed before your grasses every time, chief. Those doors are labeled for him, just so everybody is aware. so there's the seasonal element, the vacant lots are constantly an enforcement battle. And everything else, so it's a mix.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are getting, I don't know if I'd say more and more, but we have dozens of property owners that said, what about them? You made me, what about them?
Mhm.
And so we're always in that balance too, which is also where it's like, does the peer pressure avenue work?
So the goal is compliance. That's
Yeah,
the purpose.
yeah, the goal is always, I mean, the goal, there's a little bit of, for lack of a better term, like CYA in terms of like, we've done our. You as a property owner are legally required to know this, but we're making sure you know it every year. So when we come and the first time we talk to you, oh, I had no idea. Well, no. You know, if you didn't read your mail, maybe, but we've done our due diligence to get you the information. So it's a little bit of that responsibility.
Is there also an opportunity to work with the Firewise groups and since they're local, more
Yeah, and
neighborhood
that
leaders?
brings up kind of like the bigger pictures. The mailer is not the only thing that we do by any stretch. We do all of these. We work with our Firewise leaders. We do the outreach to HOAs. We're doing a lot of HOA school outreach now. Like we have like, we do a ton of different outreach. This is one tool in the toolbox. The question is like, how sharp should this tool be this year? I guess is maybe the better way to phrase it.
It's pretty dull right now. Sharpening.
Have you been getting compliance over the last few years?
We've definitely been making progress. How much of it is ever spurred by the mailer versus all the
Yeah.
intensive processes? We did how many, like 8,000 inspections last year? We've at this point put eyes on almost every property in San Rafael over the last 3 to 4 years. So.
Do you have the ability to look at brush scores from like the people that monitor, 'em, like modeling systems? Because I do, and I see your work. And it's impressive.
Thank you. We do some, I mean, there's some like radar data and stuff, but, I will say too, the mailers are the precursor to the on-site inspection, and the on-site inspection then produces, hopefully everybody's gotten their own report and evaluation and gotten a chance to look at it. And they're really comprehensive tools, right? They are checklist designed to help you prioritize what needs done. So, but yeah, absolutely.
Thanks to Quinn and her team, the landscape of San Rafael has visibly and obviously changed, much more so than I've ever seen with any wildfire fuel reduction program ever in the county. So much credit to her and the team.
Well done.
Never ends. And is that what we highlight, right? Like, is it, here's the change, and that's kind of like, what is tool, sharp tool, one vote for very sharp tool. What's kind of the other thoughts on vibes? Are we all in the sharp box category?
I'm not in the sharp toolbox category.
Okay.
But I don't know what you would use to persuade people. I would think we're all mature adults and reason would persuade us, hey, maybe we should fire harden our homes and landscape. So it's still the educational approach. I think this county tends to be in the city affluent and educated. And so the hammer approach would probably rub people wrong. It would rub me wrong. But maybe I'm unique in that way. I don't know, but my personality is to be much more of a carrot than a stick. That's kind of the approach I would use. And you're making incremental progress.
Mhm.
Let's just keep moving down that road. But to Donna's point, she's got a good one. At some point, they don't make enough progress, and then boom, there's a big fire, and everyone suffers because you didn't take care of your property. So
But
you're balancing.
I look at that and I go, if they've already given 3 warnings and they're still not complying, it's obvious they don't intend to.
Oh, no, I thought this wasn't a warning per se. It's the mailer that's going out.
It's an annual mailer, right? So it's hitting everybody. It's hitting the people that have done the biggest work.
It's been
And now what's your
somehow-
next step? It's hitting the person that has thrown it out every year. It's hitting the person that has called us and said,
Well,
F you,
it's
right? Like
the
it's
person
every
that
person.
just moved to San Rafael
Sure.
6 months ago and has no idea
Correct.
about this.
Yeah, but all along it has said if you don't comply, there's potential of fines. That's not gonna change.
Yeah, that's
Right,
always.
that's fine.
Okay, so I misunderstood. I'm saying if I've been to your house 3 times and
Oh,
you still have
I
that
agree.
huge head of bamboo.
No.
No, I agree.
That's
Yeah.
not, yeah, that's not,
Okay,
this
that's not
this
this.
is like, here's your annual reminder. We live in an area prone to wildfire. We have resources available to help you mitigate your risk. We are also enforcing and making you do that. Like, where are we with that? So So like the most recent one is First, which was, a postcard that did a little bit of kind of the bragging, like, here's the things we've done, trying to do the peer pressure approach. Provided a couple, pretty actionable, do these things, so that if it is just your annual maintenance reminder, and that's what you get in the mail to like click your brain on and say, oh yeah, I gotta clean my gutters, great. And then there's some resources there. There wasn't much at all mentioned on last year's with fines and enforcement. It was pretty, like, we kind of went the peer pressure route, like to see if we kind of could nudge people in that sense. The year before was, just very like, it's your home, kind of protect it. Here's the tangible things you can do. Still provided the resources, but probably with a little less focus. It was really meant to be something like could live on someone's fridge as like the action checklist
But
piece.
with a very highlighted
Yeah.
section of, these are your responsibilities under the law.
Yeah. And then the first one really was the more intensive one that included also recognizing the environmental impacts and things like that. That were out there. So there's certainly been consistent themes throughout the years, but there's been very.
You have a metric to measure, success on each of the flyers? No,
Not much.
so it's unclear which approach works best.
Have we ever explored or talked about a little reward? I'm thinking of a emblem, a sticker, a color code. It's not unlike what the restaurants have to do with the health department, where, yes, I passed and I got an A, and they stick it in the window and they're proud of it. And if it's not there, you begin to wonder, why am I going in here? If I had a sticker on, it was placed not by me, but by, then this is a manpower issue, obviously, but placed on my mailbox right in front for everybody to see walking by.
We've
then
talked about
I
doing like
comply.
yard signs.
Yeah.
Kind of like the equivalent of like slow down, your kids live here type of,
Sure, right.
like, I'm prepared for wildfire.
Yeah.
We haven't let go of that idea. It's always the question of how do we make sure that when we distribute them, they're on a property that is actually adapted and
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so, but yes, we have explored that. I mean, I guess there's potential, like, which again, like, how do we know someone puts it up that's actually adapted, that rather than like a postcard, we mail a sticker and then like,
Sure.
I've done these things, have you? And everyone hangs it up and, you know, the people that throw it away. Certainly a potential.
Different question, because everything we do, no matter what the discipline, somewhere it comes back to get us in the pocketbook. Have we ever talked to retailers in San Rafael? This is sort of convoluted and I'm making it up as I go along, but if there were some particular kinds of equipment that were handy to help you do this at home, and I could get it at brand X because this week you're providing it with a coupon or a discount or something to get me to get the equipment or the paint or the shovel or the
Yeah.
chainsaw or
Yeah,
whatever.
so
I need.
we've, a little bit, more, we would do it more on like the disaster preparedness side. But that does like, could the mailer be a coupon for a bag of rock at Home Depot?
Yeah.
As like a pitch to be like, hey, hardscape, like replace your mulch with hardscape.
Sure.
It's something we could definitely look into. Would people read it if it looked like a coupon, or would more people throw it away? I don't know.
Yeah,
Right, but it's an interesting idea to play around with graphically at least.
What about a certificate from them that says that they could share with their insurance company?
Yeah, we don't want to touch insurance with them. So the report is basically that, and there are folks, but more often than not, insurance companies are using anything we do against them. Because no matter, I mean, the reality is unless you're brand new construction, you're not fully compliant. So,
It's cool though. I mean,
Yeah.
your logo is like, that's pretty slick. Like, wow, I'm in compliance. It's kind of cool.
the gray area between San Rafael
Yep.
and Marin wildfire is, are we getting duplicate messages, triplicate messages to San Rafael residents?
in some cases, yeah,
Um,
but they're not, they're not uncoordinated. Certainly like a San Rafael resident that gets this mailer has one more piece of information every year than Santa Benicia that might not get a mailer, but it's not contradictory to something else they would get.
Okay.
I mean, the information in this is consistent. It really is just kind of what gets your attention as a resident that goes home and is like flipping through your mail at the end of the day. I've literally had people come into interviews for the fire department and we'll like use one of the mailers as a, like starting discussion point. And they're like, oh yeah, I got that. I threw that away. And I'm like, and you're sitting here for a fire department interview. So like, as people that are like relatively looped into this, right? If it's not gonna get your attention, it's definitely not gonna get the normal people's attention, right? And so that's kind of what I wanted, like, what would get your attention, right? What makes you pay attention? What? Is it the bright red? Is it trying to like use generally avoided imagery of actual fire as an example? Is that where we need to go to maybe get a little more like fire, brimstone, scary, but still being like supportive?
Is this available in multiple languages?
We have translated them on the website. We have not mailed them bilingually, which is one thing we would like to do this year is actually mail it bilingually. But that does change our physical layout. It cuts our space in half basically.
Right.
Or we have to go bigger.
No, it's easier to do online, obviously, than
Yeah.
in print.
Yeah, so we've had like QR codes on there to say for this information in Spanish.
Got it.
But I'd like to get to a point where we're mailing it in Spanish.
Thoughts from the former firefighters?
I like the 23 one because. I think making an evacuation plan is a big deal. Now, whether people read that, do that. That's another thing. But, you know, you get fires up in what is it, up in Paradise? People are just trying to load up their car and get the hell out of there. You know, it's like where we live. Can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to my kids, where's our safety zone? We had a fire coming from China camp and we were told to evacuate. They're like, oh, we just jump in the car and it's like, no. Go down the seawall, that's probably the easiest place,
Yeah.
you know, but people aren't aware of that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, I understand your frustration because we're in California, spending a lot of money on wildfire mitigation. And a lot of wildland fire victims, Santa Rosa said, people have short memories.
No, that was what I was gonna say, is that what you need to have a fire. You know, and that'll get people's attention.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could time that with the mail.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, that's what's around. You have an earthquake and then everybody wants to get into a search program. You know, and then within a couple of months, people are back to normal.
Sure.
You know, so what the lieutenant said was pretty accurate in that Oakland Hills fire, right? When I was on that, most of the people that died were trying to evacuate. Yeah, down a small little road, somebody gets stuck, everybody backs up behind them, and then they got overrun. But we're dealing with human nature. You know, I've been out with my crews, going house to house saying, hey, you know, we need to cut back all your stuff. And I was physically told, nah, that's city property, it's city's responsibility. And I've got insurance. Guess what happened next year?
We don't have insurance anymore.
No, he had insurance, would burn his house down because he had the wildland fire burn right into his house. Sued the city, yeah. Did he win? Yeah. City paid a lot of money. You know, so it's kind of human nature. And when we were on this committee, Quinn and I, we purposely said, hey, rather than come in with the heavy fist, let's come in with education. You know, let's do the education first. And hoping that we would get some of the people. But I think Quinn's kind of going down the right track, even though it's heavy-handed. At some point in time, you got to say enough is enough. And what people hear is when it starts to hit their pocket. You know, I think a lot of people are well-intentioned, but they just kind of, it's a low priority. It just never gets around to them. You know, you know, you can bring in your CERT programs, it's like you have maybe the CERT team somehow involved in education. But you're gonna have a group of people that just aren't gonna do it for whatever reason. And the only thing that's gonna get their attention is if there's some pain involved.
I'm wondering, like, visually, just kind of taking in some of this, like, I'm almost. Somehow he translates my brain sometimes into like these visuals, but I'm thinking, what if it's like a road to safety theme where there is like the fire and the scary thing, but then there's the emphasis on evacuation, like very organically, but then some of that like road to safety could also be about removing vegetation and accessing the resources and packing the go bag. And so we kind of like inherently build the evacuation theme in, we add the scary part. And there's some type of finish line of like, hoorah, I'm a little safer.
But perhaps we can start it on the elementary school level,
That's how we got.
Have and maybe make presentation to kids and
Yeah, no, and again, this is like
Yeah.
one, that's all part
Yeah,
of where
and
we're at.
bring the
Yeah,
questionnaire home,
Yeah.
so they have to discuss it with their parents
yeah.
and start these conversations.
Another thing I think I would do is I would have some kind of a press. Something to go out to the press right away, if there is another big fire, some, in Paradise or Santa Rosa or something like that, that's got people's attention, right? And if we can go out with, not a press release, but we have a lot of these things we can start sending out, we could get into the IJ and, get some, advertising space. Now you got people's attention. Because if you wait, it's gonna be like Paradise. Wrong term.
Get the message have written in this.
Oakland Hills,
And-
you go over there now, and it's just like it was.
Yes,
Yeah, when it burnt out.
yes.
Well, that's part of the bottom line to what we've been going through in the last couple of years of cleaning up everything. It's not a one out. Once you get started, you can't stop.
That's right.
If they don't clean it up, Mother Nature's going.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean, one way or another, we're either gonna get, charred landscape, for, with some effort. And our population is older. I'm looking at this, I'm even having trouble reading because it's such small. All my neighbors, of course,
Flyers actually.
come over to me, when they get, take this tree out, you post your house and stuff, and I flat out say, take it out. These people have come by and said, for your safety and the safety of the community, this tree needs to go out. They're not just arbitrarily coming by and saying, take it out. It's got to come out.
Are there any funding programs available to the city that can be translated back down to residents
Yes.
to help them
We
pay?
we've probably issued over 100,000 in grants and then probably over $250,000 in direct assistance. We have a direct assistance program that every year we do the work on hundreds of properties just for free.
Okay, all right.
It's all Measure C.
Yeah.
To speak to John's idea about reaching out to the school kids, I sit here and I wonder how many residents in San Rafael have school-aged children? Because we have a very aging population. I wonder if it's even 50%. I don't either. I'm just thought-provoking, like, of the demographics of the city, which I'm sure somewhere that data is available. How many of those homes have school-aged children? If it's greater than 50%, it's a go. But if it's 30%, I don't know that you bother.
Well, it's not. We know inherently, and as we try to reach some of the harder to reach populations across the board, that you put a lot more energy into reaching sometimes harder folks to reach. And that's one of the reason we have gotten, that we do mailers is to overcome the digital divide, is to overcome people that don't get online. Like, we put tons of stuff on social media. We put, flyers, so we are trying to hit people every way because everyone has different ways they access information. And that's also where, like, doing something like you know, even like trying to have the graphics, trying to even make them somewhat accessible if you can't read, like, oh, I can't read these words, but I see that you're pointing at my gutters or my roof. What does that mean? Right? And you're spurring the creativity. Where in this one, right, we've used the physical graphics where you don't have to read any of that to understand like plants together bad, plants apart good. And so there are different avenues there, and I wouldn't say there's ever a hard percent where like, that's not, because I don't think 50% of our residents read this mailer, to be honest. That's not gonna stop me from sending it and making it, right? That's just kind of part of it, but, you know, we've traditionally mailed, 8x11 postcards. There might be something to be said about doing like full sheet. I worry about it getting lost in election mail. But to your point about visual, and then if we are gonna go dual lingo,
You know, I think finding out what the age is of Santa Fe.
oh, maybe have that.
You already have that? Yeah.
If we do it, I mean, the census data, and that's all part of our hazard mitigation planning and everything else.
But then wouldn't that then tell you how to approach these people? I mean, okay, social media.
Oh, no,
I
and
gotta
that's.
ask my 24-year-old daughter.
No, that's my point, and that's why, that's one of the reasons we mail is because we have an older population that's not on all the socials, that's not, that says, hey, I want this. And one thing we haven't done that I'm also hearing, we probably should pay to run this in the IJ. Once we develop it, there's no reason not to put that content in print in other ways. For sure, I think it just really comes down to like, what is the right content, right? In this particular, like, if you're gonna summarize, if there is one message a year, you're gonna get about how do I get ready for wildfire? Like, and that's kind of, right, is it, and I'm hearing a mix of like, right, people aren't as afraid anymore. So how do we kind of bring that fear aspect back into it while still making sure people are aware of resources that are available to them? Because they're a motivating factor. How do we keep it top of mind? And I think we can kind of put that together, and there's definitely some themes there I think we can play with.
I think that, and it probably is on here, I just can't see it. It's like, I'm sure it says, if you have any questions,
Yep.
give us a call.
Yeah.
But I would really kind of play on that, you know, like, if that doesn't make sense to you, we'll come out, you know, one-on-one. And
One last question from me. This is basically one size fits all. I mean, it has to be for the sake of the economy involved in doing it in the first place.
Mhm.
But I live in a hilly area
Mhm.
and woolly, and there are certain things that affect me that don't bother the people in the flatlands. Except escape routes, because we're coming off the hill and going right through their yard. Is there any value, not in place of this, but later on in increments where there is a mailer to the hill people, a mailer to the flatland people, a mailer to the ones who are out closer to the bay, the ones who are further in toward the San Anselmo border? Because those flavors
Mhm.
are a little different.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we can explore. You mentioned like the economy piece of it is just, again, like how effective are they? We do have, I think we're finally done with our fire clear evacuation maps, and so that will be a second mailer that'll happen this year.
Okay.
And those are a little more geo customized, although not extensively, but at the same time, like the map of your neighborhood is gonna get your attention probably a little bit more than something that's generic.
Yeah.
So there will be that piece, but.
Quinn, but one question, it seems like the conversation that we've had, it has two elements to it. Number one is the bad offenders and the hammer, right? And that's probably a pretty small group of people, right? So maybe those can be communicated with more directly, and I think that's already happening, right? But the bigger picture is just general fire safety awareness, right, amongst the entire public. So maybe that type of approach where this is really focused on the educational, you know, a lot of things that you and I have been working with over the past couple of years, you know, just in terms of fire safety awareness and using social channels in addition to this to illustrate those. And social is great. It reaches a limited demographic, but as the younger people get older in the city, you know, you'll probably see more and more social media use. And I'm using that term, you know, very broadly, right? That's next door. It's not just Facebook. It's Next door, I think is a little bit different and boy, I see a lot of people engaged on that in my community. Like very heavy engagement and people watch it.
Yeah.
And it's a medium in which you can use visuals much more easily. You can have video, you can show what a fire actually looks like. I will never forget the video that Larry shared with us, the Christmas tree. Like that is embedded in me and every single year right now, I am so focused on safety around our Christmas tree. So, but I think that can be extended to maybe there's a family that's trying to escape a fire that's encroaching and you can have a video of them being trapped and maybe it's in a hilly area or something like that. Like, I think those are, I mean, you have to use a little bit of the fear factor, but I do think from that enforcement, that's probably something we can go directly
Sure.
with those folks.
No, I think that's really helpful
Yeah.
feedback and, I know Chief's here, so I don't wanna take up more time and I will, head out, but I appreciate that. I think there's a lot of, I think, nuggets in there to pull from. And that this can go broader. On the next door piece, I would just like generically ask, the next door algorithm is really hard for public agencies to break through. So I would really ask you to subscribe to the fire department and to OES, and that if you are seeing anything we are posting, please engage with it. Like it, comment on it, like thumbs up it, all that stuff, because it is incredible how often we'll post something on Nextdoor and then well, you didn't post it. It's like we did. It's just the algorithm like hates us. Until,
It's even hard to find
Yeah.
the location, like I have searched San Rafael Fire Department and it pulls up Novato Fire Department, Petaluma.
For
And like,
whatever
I couldn't find
it's-
San Rafael.
they have Nextdoor for public agencies. They even like send us content to post and it's like, cool, just let people see my postings.
Yeah,
So please interact with that on any social channel, but Nextdoor obviously being one that we struggle with the most. It's the hardest to kind of like directly subscribe to.
maybe we can set up a link, Thomas,
It's-
to
it's-
the commission.
Yeah, that would be
Or
great.
next door?
It's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, because I'm not sure everybody has it.
I do not, my wife does, so if you could send that to me,
I didn't know that OES
You're
and-
right on track.
I've never used it.
Thank you.
You know, with,
Yeah, it's-
what we
interesting.
came up with.
Yeah,
It's
tell
like-
them some stuff.
And then eventually have to get it.
One suggestion, maybe you can work with the Garbarino family at the dumps and get free coupons for people to have pickup if they mitigate their fire.
Yeah, we have, we already do free chipper days,
Yep.
so they don't even have to take it to the dump. They can
Yep.
just put on their curb and we're gonna come get it for them.
Yep.
So even one less step. So that already exists, and that's one of the things we make sure everybody is aware of through these mailers. And I feel like I need to come do a whole like big update to you guys. I feel like I haven't done that in a couple years. For all the resources
on the
and
agenda.
stuff we
Yeah, that-
have coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a little closer to season, so it's fresh, but, and all
Number
the
one,
great
you're welcome to any
projects.
meeting.
So,
Chair.
thank you.
Chair Rupert, if I may.
Yes.
Could I ask Quinn just to comment on the chief's report on pages 5 and 6? There are some wildfire and OES updates, and it would be best if Quinn maybe just briefly touched on those, if he doesn't mind.
Sure.
I didn't give her the time to prepare, so it's kind of.
It's okay. So just yesterday, we were back out, so this project, the Marin Tree Removal Plan link. It's, at the end of Fifth, kind of starting with the cemetery and goes up, onto, Ridgewood and that whole top and then down. It's about 150 acre, parcel. We're gonna start with about 10 acres, largely around the cemetery and, residents. It's a major eucalyptus removal project, kind of the first of its kind that we've undertaken with Measure C funds, largely focused on trees smaller than 10 inches diameter at crest height, DBH, so roughly a basketball. And then a lot of understory and clearing. And there's a ton of environmental reasons why this is really important, ecological reasons as well as fire. And this is a really strategic area. We had the Storage Park fire, which some of you may remember in the 70s. That ripped through there. And so there's a lot of fire history because of the way it feeds up to the ridge, because of the way eucalyptus bark can carry embers literally miles. And that turns into like, that's what starts China Camp or that starts, San Anselmo. So it's a really strategic location. We're really excited to be through the environmental review. We are hoping within the next couple months we start work. And again, that smaller parcel, we just did a community walkthrough yesterday. With a lot of our partners we got a lot of outreach directly to the neighborhood in that area as well. It will look like a timber operation. I don't like to hide that fact from people. I don't want people to think it's gonna be an intense process while it happens. And it will take maintenance. We are gonna be using herbicides to treat the stumps so they don't regrow. And we're really excited about where it's gonna go. And then we hopefully will end up with a much more native and, diverse, ecosystem there as well. So that's that big project. We did just get, a portable long-range acoustic device that can be mounted on, a roof of a vehicle. You've probably heard like Mill Valley putting in their siren systems. Those are up to about $200,000 a pop. We're undergoing a sound study right now in San Rafael. We're right around the 30 mark if we were to cover San Rafael. And cover doesn't actually mean like loud enough to get into every house. It just means if you were outside, you might hear it. So just dollar figures on that alone. So we're really liking kind of this portable opportunity so we can take them, we could pre-stage them in locations. We have them as evacuation devices. And actually was really mad at myself that I did not bring our portable LRAD to the thing yesterday because it would have been like a perfect opportunity because it can also just be a big blowhorn, right? You can turn the volume down and it's supposed to be that clear. And I was really annoyed I didn't bring it.
expecting them to do that.
It was a very good group, mainly actually, internal, like a lot of partner agencies. It's been a really good partner project, state, county parks, all that stuff. And you got the list of our preparedness work and that's ongoing. And if there's ever a group you're involved with, whether it's, a social group, a neighborhood group, a Firewise group, and you want us to come out and present, we're happy to do it. Trying to do more evacuation drills this year. And evacuation drills can range from just like the individual family practices. Everyone in the neighborhood agrees 10 a.m. on Saturday, we're gonna go load our car and then we're gonna have a little picnic, or we can do a full-fledged piece. And so Manny's on my team and he does a lot of our community outreach presentations. And we also now have 2 bilingual folks that are working on increasing our Spanish language outreach along all those topics as well. So a lot of good stuff happening. It's a little bit of a planning time of year in terms of our veg projects and defensible space inspections, because folks aren't quite as, come tell me what's wrong with my property for wildfire risk when it's raining. And so we do a lot more internal work and long range planning this time of year, and but we're still working HOAs in schools. And those types of properties are a big focus for this year with inspections as well, to make sure that we're creating as many places that can safely shelter in place as possible, because the less people we have to evacuate, the better. So if we can get the schools and places like that to be able to stay where they are with one engine rather than trying to put thousands of vehicles on the road to evacuate. So lots of good stuff. What? All right.
No, just proud of you. How you guys are doing? Feels good.
Quite the portfolio list. My whiteboard is always full, but no, it's a great team. 11 mighty doing a lot of good stuff. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks, Quinn.
of course.
It is good fun. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.
We'll see where we land with all those kids.
And you'll be back soon.
Around
Yeah, that'd be
most of
great.
the time, so not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Quinn.
Interesting.
I do believe the next thing on the agenda is Fire Foundation.
So before we jump to that, Ken and I were not here from the dump. The jackets, can you explain to us what they look like or?
Oh, well, I can and I can't.
Thomas, is that an example of one?
I don't know, we didn't.
You-
discuss
that-
jackets.
Um,
Or are there?
that
others?
is the heavy duty version that I have.
Yeah, I have
There's a
one.
lighter date jacket, is there not? I think.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Like a windbreaker more? Like a-
Yeah,
I go Sam's jacket.
Ooh, Latin.
well, it could very well be just like that, which is like I have. And you have.
Yes, I would need it.
Yeah, okay, all right. That may be the best way to go. Okay, you just help make that decision. Thank you. In that case,
So is there a jacket to try to get an estimate of sizing?
Yeah, we have.
I'll see you after the
Yes.
meeting.
You wearing that else?
It's large. I can send out the Amazon link to it.
There you go.
You can check the size.
I have a double X and it's a little tight on you. But
I can send out the Amazon.
But it's made for a men's body, so that's why I'm hesitant what size to tell you.
Is it?
You're right. Got it.
And you gotta be careful because what on the females will notice is that the sleeves are really long.
Mhm.
So might not be the best option. We might have to look for a
You
different.
can
option.
reserve this if it's okay. As long-
She's the only one, but the other females that we have in the field have to roll the drop. It doesn't.
And I don't mind the roll up, I just, you guys have narrow hips and I don't. So I wanna make sure I can close
So
it.
it's a straight fall. I don't think it cuts in.
Is it Berkey managed?
Yeah, I'll just send him something. I'll send the link to everyone and
Thank you.
you can let me know.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
Okay.
we'll work that out.
Fire Foundation, so exciting news. I'm happy to report that the crab feed was definitely successful. I think I told you that already. But they're looking for, and this group can certainly help, expanding the board. And that's a good thing because they really need more people to do the work that they do. So if you know anyone that's interested in volunteering to be on the board of the San Rafael Fire Foundation, that would be great. Obviously, it would be wonderful to have a retired firefighter, right? That's always a great thing to have. But anybody that wants to work with the San Rafael Fire Department as a volunteer for the foundation, I'm really happy that they realized they definitely need to bulk up.
Who's on the board right now?
There's 5 people, but 2 of the 5 are definitely compromised. So like 3 people were doing basically all the work for the crowd food.
There's no residency requirement to be on the fire foundation, is
No,
there? You can live
No,
anywhere in the county.
Yeah.
right.
Sure.
I mean, ideally,
That
it'd be
helps.
someone from, but there's,
Yeah.
you want to help, we
So
love.
like a retired firefighter, for instance, who doesn't live in Marin, could be on the foundation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Doesn't live in San.
if you know someone that would like to
So, yeah.
serve in that regard, you can either tell me and I can forward it to Lynn Thompson, or you can go direct to Lynn. They are gonna put together a questionnaire, a resume type of format so that they know what the person is about before they say, sure, yeah, we'd love to have you or not. There will be a vetting process. But the good news is they know they need more bodies. And yes, I politely decline. I want to be here. That's it.
That's it, okay. I had a post crab feed meeting
They make-
with, Matt Thompson. And he asked me to ask you as a group, those who attended, if you had any particular comments about the event that Donna would then take back.
To the foundation, because
To
we're
the
meeting
foundation.
Friday. Brian just asked me, was it profitable? Yes, not as much as the last time they did it pre-pandemic, but they did make money. I want to say, don't quote me, I think it was 17,000, but the books weren't all in. So not what we would have hoped for, but it was definitely a profitable. And of course, I think the most important thing is to raise the community's awareness that the foundation exists.
True.
There's so many people that have not a clue. I would say 95% of the residents don't even know it exists. It's that unknown.
Any comments, from the table?
I think they did a great job. I mean, I was surprised how many people were there and how successful.
You know, they did a great job considering they were flying by the seat of their pants because we lost the former firefighter. Help me out, Bob.
Lambert,
Bob DeLambert.
but he was there.
He was there, but he wasn't running the party.
Mhm.
So there was things that got missed and it literally was slapped together. The fact that it got delayed a month was actually a blessing because it gave them another month to get their act together. But it was just too much for the few people that were there doing the work.
That was gonna be my comment on the timing. I thought January actually worked out better than
Yeah.
December. People are really busy in December.
That's-
And so maybe that's something, I had mentioned it to Len,
I'll carry that
you
back.
know, maybe that is something we consider.
He and I had the same conversation, and he agreed that it was sort of a blessing in disguise that January, for any number of reasons, is a better time to have a hit like that, so.
I have to compliment the fire department. Were it not for the firefighters that helped and worked hard for the crab feed, I don't know that it would have come off as well as it did. I really seriously doubt it. So thank you.
So we'll pass it along to them.
Yes.
I have one question, Donna. In the past, I'm not sure if this was the foundation, but I remember when my kids were young, there was something in Christmas. There was the Santa Claus, in that same, the community center. It was a fundraiser, it was a pancake breakfast. Was that done through the Fire Foundation or? do you know?
I'm not familiar with that.
So
Oh,
the,
really?
Was it?
It could have been, SRPD, maybe?
probably was not the Fire Foundation, because they haven't been in existence but maybe 7 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2014.
Redwood
This was at least 10 years ago.
Redwood used to do the pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Santa Fe.
And the
It-
Fire
it-
Foundation has done a pancake breakfast in the past, when we still had Chief Gray. We did it at the old firehouse.
Here, the one here?
Yeah,
Fire station one?
the old firehouse that got torn down. Yeah, that was a really good turnout.
So that could be another thing to consider for the foundation, looking for, if they're looking for an
Raise
additional event,
Yeah.
right?
Good.
And then to our earlier conversation too, with Quinn, not only as a fundraiser, but also an educational
Right,
opportunity.
right.
And yeah, they had somebody dressed up as Santa Claus. It was great. My kids loved it.
Okay, thank you for all of that. And Donna, you have your notes to take back.
I do.
But it sounds like, I mean, Len's been all over town, I know. And talking to a lot of people, so look forward to next year. Current media coverage, I don't see any in the stack. I will say that in our next meeting, I will present a email I received from Larry Leckham. And it does tie in kind of, it has to do with drones. But not the kind of drone that we have. But it's a drone that's being used at the moment in China. And drops a firefighting bomb. Sounds weird, I know. Makes sense when you read about it, but that'll be next month. Let's,
I did have a social media that I had put on the agenda, and that was this, the Sonoma County.
oh yes, I'm sorry, you're right,
Yes.
absolutely.
So I brought
My
it, just thinking either Chief Sinnott or Chief Roman could comment on this, because I know we were talking about, we got 2 new ambulances. And I saw that Sonoma County looked like they got a fleet, and I said, well, how did they manage to pull that off? And is that something that's open to San Rafael or the county, or?
No, so what this is, it's an exclusive operating area so right now, the city of San Rafael Fire Department has an exclusive operating area for the ambulance service, which covers the CSA 13, Marinewood, City of San Rafael, and some other areas like Channel Campbell, that stuff. So basically, we have authority and responsibility to provide the EMS service and transport service specifically on that. Sonoma County has certain parts that are like that, would be the old Bodega Bay Fire District, the old Gurnville Fire District, and various other ones that do have ambulances. The rest of the area is basically the county EMS agency saying there is no EOA, it is now our EOA, and they go take it out to bid. In 1994, I believe, no, 1992, they went out to bid for the full system, and that's when AMR, or what was known as Sonoma License Board, took over. So that's all of Santa Rosa, the unincorporated areas of Santa Rosa, Sebastopol, Roner Park, pretty much any place that doesn't have a fire department run ambulance, other than the Bells ambulance, which that was the Hillsburg area, was in that EOA area, and that's what went out to bid. This year, as it went out to bid, because it expired this year, Sonoma County Fire District was allowed to bid on it. What they did is subcontracted Medic Ambulance out of Solano County to provide the services. So it says Sonoma County Fire District, but the reality, it's Medic Ambulance Service out of Solano County. That probably spent $10 million to get that going there.
So Chief, what you're saying is the reason they have this is because there's not fire departments servicing the areas that they are now servicing.
There was no, within that EOA, the exclusive operating area, no fire department was running any ambulances in that.
Got it.
So this is a little bit different than us here. We are it. Nobody takes it from us. It doesn't go out for bid or anything like that. If they did go out for bid, then it would be a problem because every 10 years we'd have to put a bid on it. And so that's why it's different on that. So so that's what they did it. The other reason they did that Sonoma County Fire District did it is that does bring some money into the department. And then I'll tell you the difference between a private ambulance and a public ambulance. Public ambulance is if they're allowed to get GMT funds or PPIDT funds, which is extra funds that offset the cost of a Medi-Cal patient. Otherwise, we're getting $150 on a transport, very minor amount of money on a transport for a Medi-Cal patient. With this extra funding, that's what boosts it up, and that's why medic ambulance can't get that. But under the Seminole County Fire District, they could get that and then pay off medic ambulance to run the system.
So for areas in Marin County that don't have a fire department, it's a volunteer, we'll say, do they have this similar service?
It's Marin County Fire District that has that EOA area, much
Okay.
like us in the CSA 13 or Marinewood, they don't have fire department, or they don't have fire department based ambulances, but we cover that EOA area.
And Chief, aren't those ambulances in that photo existing ambulances that have just been rebranded? So they look new, but they're not, they didn't get an entirely new fleet. of
No, they
ambulances.
didn't get an entire new fleet. They were able to buy a fair amount of new ones. I think they would need to buy something like 30 of them. If not more than that to give in service. I think at any point they have either 18 or 19 in service ones per day. So it's a lot of ambulances, it's a lot of stuff, but it's mostly medic ambulance. Even though it says Seminole County Fire District on the outside, it's really medic ambulance that's runs the whole system. And our former chief, Wyndham, is the EMS chief there now. So he was a battalion chief here and then went up there and he's the EMS chief up there, kind of overseeing the program.
Thank you.
In that, you were speaking here just a second ago. Would you like to continue with your report and what may, oh, you come down. Hello.
Chief Shannon had
It's the dancing chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go over this in detail. You have the chief's report for February in front of you. On the front page, just some general updates, again, starting with the crab feed, which was a huge success. And I'm sure the foundation, the profits were probably more than anticipated because while I was at the bar a couple of times getting drinks, Commissioner Funkel's spread was pouring a very short drink. So.
It was expensive beer, chief.
We gotta fund that drone. We gotta do both. We got.
The profit margin.
Somewhere.
Did you decide why you went back to someone?
Yeah, exactly. A regular customer.
Oh,
But it was a lot of fun. And, you know, I know the foundation drove it, but the commissioners really supported it so much. And it was your support that helped make it such a great success. So thank you. There's some facility updates, some routine staffing updates on page 1. I'm just gonna kind of roll through this. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Unfortunately, that on page 2, the very top item, this incident happened during the crab feed where there was a major trauma vehicle accident at 2nd A Street that actually involved dismemberment and CPR that had to be administered. It was a fatality. That's how it ended up, but the crews actually had to leave the crab feed and respond to this call. So it just shows you what our firefighters do. We're completely unaware of much of the time. You know, we're enjoying ourselves and they're dealing with something like this. So, significant call. A few other calls there for you. Again, we got the big storm here, February 4th and 5th. Fortunately, here in San Rafael, we didn't have any major damage. It was the typical wires down, trees down, power interruptions. Unfortunately, there were many residents in our area that had to suffer through, you know, several hours, if not a day or more, of having a power outage. It's, you know, it's a hardship, but we had no major damage or injuries associated with the storms. We did have a room and content structure fire. It was unrelated to the storm, but happened during the storm period. It was a townhome up near the Civic Center area. Unfortunately, the residents were hoarders. The townhome was just packed full of debris and garbage and for housekeeping, obviously, but an unintended candle, which was not attributed to the power outage because the power was not out yet. They just were burning candles, so for whatever reason, fell over and ignited the bed in one of the bedrooms. So that room was burned out along with all of its contents. but there were no injuries. Well, actually, there were. One of the residents went to the hospital with smoke inhalation, but was released, the following day. On page 3, Captain Ryan gave us a very detailed, training update. Appreciate that work from him. He's obviously very busy in that position, followed by some prevention updates. And kind of the goal of this prevention update was to give you an update on many of the projects that are currently underway in San Rafael or pending. And so that stretches into page 4 and the top of page 5. So there's a lot of construction, and I shared the project update with you. I think at the last meeting, there was a sheet that I handed out that showed all of the projects that are currently underway, large scale construction projects involving high density residential and or commercial. But this gives you an idea of some of the things that are going on. So there's a lot going on now. There's a lot planned. And then Quinn gave us an update on her items on page 5 and into page 6. And then just a brief update on the EMS study and the deployment analysis study, which EMS study, the final draft has been presented. And now work groups will be formed to kind of flesh out the information to determine next steps. And on the deployment analysis, we had the initial meeting with the consultant. So we will be moving forward with that project here probably later this month. And then on the last page, one of our firefighters was kind enough to give us an update on the Explorer program. So that's on the final page. And that's the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Chief, can we see the EMS study at some point? Whenever.
That'll be, so I'm waiting for the city manager to give me direction on that. First step would be to introduce it to the union, which we'll be looking at slated for March 20th to do that. And then I'll take her direction after that. Nonetheless, we do have the standard of coverage, which will be more of an in-depth comprehensive report that we are planning on being able to show that to you on there. Because that goes right along with everything we have there as far as developments that goes along with that. I mean, we can't just have additional developments and not have additional resources. So sure, it just doesn't work. It'll get lopsided and then it'll become dangerous for us. So in this case, yeah, that's actually, I think I'd be more inclined to share that standard of cover for the deployment analysis more so than the EMS study. The EMS study just covers the EMS type of calls.
Okay.
And what we're looking for is the overall, and I think we could, I had some preliminary conversations with Commissioner Chung. I do, as a fire chief, want your support on as we move forward with this. But it's a multi-year process that we're going to go through as far as budgeting and that kind of stuff there.
Okay. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and the chief has a presentation to make before we.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have badges for our folks here. So first one, well, first of all, I'd like to show you the badge, first of all. And it is a typical firefighter badge here. One of the unique things on this, and I'm not sure if there's, if you guys, actually, Doc Mizrock's the one that has the history on everything.
Yeah.
But the badge is actually, it's an old traditional badge. The top is it's not a eagle or anything like that. Anybody know what it is? It's actually a phoenix, right from the ashes. The actual shield is this shield that we used to protect ourselves as warriors, right? It was the badge that we held to protect ourselves from our internal organs, so they all get stabbed during the medieval times. So that's part of it also. And then the circle around the scramble that we call in the middle, the circle means eternal service that we provide to the community. And then the scramble is basically that we show mastery in our tools by crossing them. Otherwise, you'll see single ones in there for captains and lieutenants and stuff like that. Traditionally, you would see single ones without being crossed because they haven't demonstrated mastery like a chief would. So you'll see that the chiefs, it's all crossed. It demonstrates mastery and demonstrates, and it's in gold rather than silver. So for you, we have the gold, and you demonstrate all these things here in the commission. So you know, when we take out the badge, for us, it's very prideful when we have this. To me, every morning when I put on my shirt, I know where I'm going to work. I'm not going to work at the construction yard. Well, it's very admirable that I would go do some construction work. I'm gonna go work for the community. So this helps me remind me every morning why I get up and what the purpose of my job is. So once again, as commission members, I ask that you also do the same thing. As we look at all these things that are going on here, is that what are we responsible for? And we're responsible for ourselves, but we're also, at the greater scheme of things, we're responsible for the community that either put us here, chose us here, or really has supported us to be in this position that you're in. So it's very, very neat. Take this with some passion there. Now, sometimes we get away with stuff like what are we really responsible, what are our objectives on there? I truly believe that the commission has an objective. And that objective is to support the fire department and the needs. And what I mean by that, politically to be able to support us with our needs, what we need to. I, as a fire chief, have only limited anything on budgets or any number of authorities or anything like that as far as the city manager. You have way more authority because you represent the community, you represent the citizens of San Rafael, what they actually want and need. And I would hope that you're here representing their desires also. So I think it's really important for you to understand that the political process, while probably people will associate the political processes or political type of stuff as a negative thing, to me, it's a very positive thing. I'm not very politically aligned with anybody, but I'm very politically astute to who I need to align myself with in order to get what I want. Not what I want, what the department needs. So, but I ask you guys, as we give you these badges, that you just take that to heart. And every time you show up at a commission meeting, I really do mean you that we're asking for your support as we move through different processes, or we ask for your support. So first and foremost, Chief, your badge. Thank you, Chief. Congratulations. And here we go, the boss. Oh, yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. Badge. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And 10 years.
Oh, Larry, welcome. It's some police website that you can buy police.
Commissioner Jones?
Amazon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure
Yeah.
having these conversations with you, and
I don't know what this
it's
is
very well
called.
deserved, and we look forward to many
Is it on the wallet?
Appreciate it so much. The badge holder.
There's a term.
Is that really your
wallet?
Huh? Well, this goes with
I
a
have.
chain.
Custer?
If you hung,
Yeah.
it goes into a pocket, if you had a pocket.
But do you have some other?
Oh, so don't put my ID on that. So, and then this was a mechanism. I don't know how many people have it.
Yeah.
Color.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I think it's certain.
Mine that was here, and about
I think,
2 meetings later.
Commissioner, Waterbury just had a question about when is it appropriate to wear this? Certain any kind of functions that we have or anything kind of representation. You know, we ask that you obviously don't have the authority to evacuate a building or anything like that. And I would ask you that you don't take that on, but certainly the authority you have here as commissioners, or we have events like that, you know, we're proudly. I think that's very appropriate. But, you know, and obviously everybody knows when not to identify some commissioner or admit a fire or something like that. It's really, unless you have some kind of specialized training like LT does, or your LT or Cap? LT does, yeah. Then obviously that's a little bit different.
So I can,
Thank you.
I can wear that and take command.
They get a discount.
Actually, be very careful about that, because there's a case out of New Mexico last month where a firefighter from a different district was in a neighboring district, fire breaks out, he tries to take command of the scene, and he's being charged criminally for interfering with the fire department in reallocating the resources when he shouldn't have. So I know you said it as a joke, but just actually is a crime to interfere with firefighter duties, so.
And certainly, and then we talked then you weren't here, Commissioner, but a couple of weeks or last month, we talked about getting the commission more involved and using the nexus of the CERT group, trying to figure out a way to do that, but certainly that would be appropriate if you're up there helping us, some kind of logistical support or anything like that, certainly would be appropriate to wear that and identify yourself as a commissioner.
Quick question about that. Does he have like any defense as like a good Samaritan law?
I don't know that he has the case.
I think
Yes,
that's-
No,
Yeah, I think that.
because he
Purposely did it.
was an off captain or something from a different district. He
Oh.
took command of the whole scene, even though he had no authority,
Yeah.
no jurisdiction.
But
And
he-
so,
if he was first on the scene, he could probably call 911, say, you got the firefighter on the scene.
he wasn't
Here's
the
what you
first
got.
though.
Yeah.
He
No,
heard about it. and
they'd
came.
already showed up
Yeah.
and he came in and tried to. Yeah.
Exactly, that's what happened.
Oh, he purposely did it.
Yeah.
One last thing, challenge coin. You know the history of challenge coins?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
You don't.
I do,
Okay.
I know.
I think you do, you do.
Go for it.
For the record, all right, because I would like you to explain the challenge coin to those who are about to receive one, including yourself. So, this side of the table.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but does it have to do with World War One and pilots?
well, okay.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go back to probably where it all started, it would be back in World War One. What it has morphed into is entirely different, I think. So the history is,
I know it as, World War One, pilots, if they were shot down and survived, they had the coin that they could give, to their, and, because in those days, there was a lot of chivalry. And, once you were captured, they treated you appropriately for your rank. So they were in exchange on both the German side and then the French and the US. And it was given as a, I don't say courtesy, but it was like a professional, good job, you shot me down, don't kill me.
right,
Yeah, and so, and that's how I know it started.
all right.
And-
It is certainly morphed into something entirely different. And I heard a story once, if I repeat it correctly, that at least in the circle of the fire department, this is where I was introduced to it, although I know that there are challenge coins for virtually every discipline on the planet. But one affiliated with the department should always carry a challenge coin and just have it somewhere in your wallet, in your purse, in your pocket, wherever. Hence the word challenge, because if somebody in the department then comes up to you and says, do you have your challenge, do you have your coin? You can show it. And if you don't, you're buying the next round.
Yeah.
Very costly. Very costly. Because, yeah.
But the only way you get those is it has to be given to you by somebody that's in that organization.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah,
So you,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
Right.
not like.
probationary classes,
Right.
right, carry the challenge points.
Yeah.
Like I
Some
Yeah.
band of, or group where you
But
have.
wait a
fun.
minute, if you're at the firehouse, how are you gonna buy a round? You're not,
It's not
Well,
at the
that's
firehouse.
bar after
That's- It's
Okay.
definitely
after
robbing.
they do.
The master of challenge coins in San Rafael is Dr. Stephen Misrat, who got it going. I don't know if he inherited it from somebody before him, not too many people really before him. But he took it over within the department.
you never told us that story though. About.
He did.
From
Yeah,
Larry or from Steve, one of them told us.
one of them did it years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I covered that in the IJ article about Steve.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
So these, by the way, are the 150-year anniversary challenge coin. And there are meetings in the works. And there are hopefully some events later in the year, which we'll participate in. And this is our 150th year as a department.
And I have year one. I think.
You were there. So,
So we're gonna have a big party?
We're trying to figure out, one of the inherent problems is that we're running out of time, and the other one was that we really didn't establish a budget around it. So with me, I can't really use fire department budgets
Sure.
for a lot of these functions, so trying to figure out where I can marry with what Quinn has going on. And then other things, so, and also we have 55 and 54 both stations that opened up. They're done with remodel, potentially trying to figure out if we could do something around that. But the other things, we have the limited capacity. It's me, Chief Sinnott, and Ryan Goodwin, the captain are the only two 40-hour employees that we have.
Wow.
So we really are strapped for time to try to figure everything out, but we're trying to reach out to, for other people to help us out and being able to do something. We really would like to do something. You know,
We have an idea what the budget would be.
no, we're laying heavily on the foundation to kind of help us out, to be honest. Right now, we don't have money for it, so.
Well, the foundation does, they did the craft page.
Oh, that's it.
No, we're leaning on,
Great.
we're meeting with them on Friday. See what, well, actually, we had a preliminary conversation with them and then, they were gonna make some, determinations on Friday and they let me know what they came up with,
Very good.
so. We'll see what we end up with.
I do believe the meeting for today is now officially.
I have a member report. Yeah, not that. Sorry.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. We've got time. Everybody have time? We'll go through the member. I'll hold myself out because I don't have one. David?
Just real quick, I'm also working with Jack and Lynn on the website for the foundation. So there are a couple of things I've already tinkered with. I'm trying to learn WordPress. I'm a novice at it, but trying to just add a little more functionality, content, things like that to the website. So hopefully I'll make some progress by the time we next meet.
Ken?
Just, one of the things from the craft feed, David and I were talking about, he brought up, safety for, high school kids, like, starting to learn how to drive.
Hmm.
And so we started the wheels processing on that. We're gonna be offering that free loss control, risk control stuff to the high schools.
Nothing to report.
Donna? You have so, and, okay. John?
Yeah, I have handouts. I promise, this will be very thorough, but I do have some handouts for you. This one is for Thomas. One, we don't get the full one, you get Chief Sinnott and Chief Bowman, Chief Waterbury, you might have wrote this. It's just an article. Basically, I did 2 ride-alongs with Chief Bernard and had some nice conversations with Chief Sinnott and Chief Bowman. The big talk now is priority, operational priorities, getting fully staffed truck company. Because the truck company is by itself, the station 54. All it is a handout of what trucks do at a fire. They do a lot of stuff. In our basic premise, when I first got in the fire department, they just say, we got a real simple job. We put the water on the fire. But the people on the truck chop the holes for ventilation. Ventilation, if not vented, backdraft, it's dangerous, okay? So I just listed station 54. They have a truck that is staffed, but they don't have an engine company that is staffed. There's a fire engine on the apparatus floor, but it's not. So if they get a fire in that area or any fire in the city, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, throughout this process, they go on the truck, that is their assignment. Go to the fire, assume the truck duties. In the canal, it's densely populated, there's no engine. It's essential that eventually they get that. And right now, trucks are throughout Marin County are cross-staffed. Novato, Kentfield. If you're on the engine and there's a call in the truck, you jump the truck, you go to the fire. Down in Southern Marin, you might have seen the rescue squad cruising around the freeway. That's not fully staffed. People on the engine jump, we've all jumped the squad, go to the accident. Here in San Rafael, we do have that, but there is no engine. So essentially they're kind of cross that, right? So it's just ability from your handout, what trucks do. The ideal number is a 4-person truck company because you can do a lot of things. You can split crew, send 2 to the roof, 2 inside for rescue. Trucks are also used, building alarms, auto extrication, storm-related work, like in the city, securing signs that fall off in the wind during these storms, pumping out flooded basements, and also using rescue systems. So you may have a biker that fell down a path Johnny Camp, then you have to have some type of rope or rescue operation. Trucks have all the equipment, they're really good at that. Okay, so, I started thinking about this a lot, and I spoke with Chief Bernard. And a lot of it was predicated, Chief Sinat's handout last meeting about the number of housing units. We have high rises that are gonna be built. We have a lot of senior communities that have been built the last 5 years with more senior communities than we have here. So, high rises, 7-story or greater. There's gonna be high rise, low rise buildings. I just wrote the number of new units, and it's just a recap of Chief Sinat's handout. So basically, city has a strategic plan for growth. Chief Roman, command staff, and making sure that the San Rafael Fire Department keeps up with this. So 54 in service is a goal, fully staffed truck is a goal. And so our conversations that we just need to make sure as commissioners, we're just aware of the operational priorities. These are just conversations that we're having and make sure that we support them if needed and acknowledge the command staff because they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot and there's a lot of moving parts to get these companies staffed. So just want to acknowledge you, what you're doing, the standards of coverage that was mentioned, that's coming out. So that goes hand in hand. So anyways, just wanted to pass this information on to you, a little bit of reading, what truck companies do.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Thank you very much.
I didn't know the difference.
One quick question, regarding like the city building up a little bit higher now in more areas more densely. Is there a need for a additional truck in a different location? The truck was at
I'll let-
52 for a while, right?
Yeah, I'll let the chief speak on that.
Yeah, more than likely there will be. So if we look at, just say this is a single story building, right? This is a single story building here. Another single story building here, which is fine, which respond in our 6 to 8 minute response time, or I mean, 4 to 48 minutes, 46 minute response time that we have to that. Or we respond 46 minute time. So now I've taken my single story structure out of there and now I put an 8-story structure there. It might still take me 4 minutes to respond to this, but it's gonna take me another 3 to 4 minutes to make it up there. So how do we do that? We increase staffing, increase density, increase fire stations. So our response time is now 2 minutes for a 4-minute and up the hill time, up the deal in there. So this is really, and I think unfortunately, a lot of the planning experts don't necessarily understand that. And that's why we are asking for your help to kind of like, just understand, this is a big deal for us. I mean, it's a big deal. Now, if somebody, there's a certain quality of life. If you have a cardiac arrest and you don't mind waiting for 8 minutes for fire and the paramedic to show up, then I guess we're fine in that place. But I'm saying that as a fire chief, that's not an acceptable standard for me. To me, if my kid's there or my wife is there and they need help, I expect them to be there no longer than 6 minutes in order to have, say, some brain tissue in there if they're in cardiac arrest. So it's all related to that quality of life that we want in the city. Now, there's cities that are far busier than we are, have far more calls and stuff like that, but I would have to say their quality of life is not as good as what we expect here in specifically San Rafael. And me in Sonoma County, like I expect the fire to show up within 4 to 6 minutes. That's why we pay taxes for that stuff to make sure that we have that. And it's very important that quality of life. The other thing I was explaining to, was it you this morning? I forget who it was, that, you know, the fire service is universal healthcare at this point. We don't care who it is or anything like that. We will respond in 4 to 6 minutes. Somebody drops a 911 call, we are responding. And there are no questions like that. We are going to respond. We're going to sit there and figure out what's the best facility, but that's a heavy reliance on us to do it. And then to say that the city of San Rafael is not a healthcare provider, well, I would argue that. We are a big healthcare provider for everybody, and we are the first conduit on where this person is going to receive care. Are we going to take them directly to UCSF? Because they're highly critical that they can only figure it out to send it to Burn Center. Do we go here locally? This is all that the decisions that we're making every day on fly like this. So, but this is like the example I tried to give people. It's like the response times are great, yeah, but from here to there. But now you're gonna have to walk or be in an elevator. This is all time that we're spending on it. Now we're not doing CPR. We're not putting water on the fire.
So Chief,
Go ahead,
on that note, the city council has been having regular meetings about for example, the development of Northgate Mall, which will have multiple 7-story dwellings, which would certainly fit your profile. Is anyone from the San Rafael Fire Department attending those meetings to give them the input you just gave?
Yeah, we're heavily involved in the planning
Good.
side of these meetings
Good,
and identifying our needs, for these projects.
excellent, thank you.
So,
But there will become a time where somebody's gonna have to make decisions where the funding's gonna come from and that kind of
Yes.
stuff, so that's where we're gonna ask, kind of lean on you as a commission, saying, hey, you know, this is, we're asking for this kind of stuff, could you show up at city council meetings and
Absolutely.
support us as what we're
Planning
saying,
commission meetings.
planning commission meetings or anything like that. And me as a fire chief or our chief Senna as the deputy chief, we can't go to the meetings and start addressing those things like that. Only you can as citizens on there. So that's really like, if you ever want to find some clear objectives for your commission, now's the time, for sure.
Well, I think it'd be wonderful that you let us know that you would like us at a particular meeting, because I think everyone in this room would be more than happy to.
Yeah. And I do
Yeah.
plan as much as I can to come in here and give the reports on our strategic plan or standards of coverage on that stuff, so you understand that. And, you know, I'm gonna rely heavily on Commissioner Chung here to give you the information of the importance of this, because that truck company is a big deal.
That is.
And it's a big deal because we have this, and so if I show up with a 3-person company and I have a fire on this side, that's only 3 people. Two people, one's gonna have to sit outside because that's the engineer that drives, and there's only 2 firefighters now going inside the fire. That's not very much. Now, if I have a ladder truck, that's a 4-person ladder truck at Station 52 that could quickly get up here, one of those high density areas, now I got a crew of 6. Now I'm gonna get the fire out. I'm gonna do it pretty fast, a lot more than 2 people on it. Unfortunately, we still run with small town resources, although we're rapidly becoming big city type of issues that are rapidly coming upon us. Now, we're still teetering that, we still can cover it, and we know we do a really good job of covering and kind of helping each other out and, you know, getting people back in service on the next call. But there'll be a time where it will slowly start, you know, will start caving in a little bit on us on that availability of time that we have to respond to a serious emergency for sure.
2 final points to make. So 53, there is no engine company. 54, there is no engine company. So we're kind of going backwards, right? So, and then secondly, with the smart train, if you're depending on 52 or 52 to be the first engine down the canal, or 51 to be the third new engine, and now you have the smart train, they ain't get done. So there's a lot of challenges that we have. Without,
Those are gonna be my question. Are we talking about another fire station?
Well, not yet. I mean, obviously, I need this kind of study. I mean, more than likely I'll say that, and I'm not sure what the possibility of that. That's gonna be a longer, like to me, I see like being able to staff up the ladder truck with 4-person company, move it to 52. Getting 1 additional ambulance or maybe, and then maybe some BLS ambulance as a combination of that, that'll sustain us for what I suspect the 10 to 15 year period. After that, we have to redo the standards of coverage and to figure out what is it that we have. I heard the other state, Micah said that we have about $1 billion of construction coming in here for the next 5 years. That's $1 billion of construction coming in here. Now, just say we only have half of that, that's still a lot, that's a big hit for us, because we're taking a hit right now on, you know, and right now, the corner, I'll use this building, Mission and Lincoln. That building there, what was there before?
Take a lot.
Well,
What was it before?
It used to be a motel, and it was turned over, made into bungalows.
Okay, so they probably ran 1 call every 20 years.
Yeah.
Every 10 years, 15 years, maybe 1 or 2 calls, right? Now we have this big old senior facility that's there, that not only, it's not a full high rise, but it's 4 stories. It's 4 stories with a clientele that is very vulnerable to falling, cardiac
Four
stroke, like that.
stories of senior citizens.
Yes. So now you see the impact that building has in that one particular corner is dramatically different than vacant lot. Or even if we had a motel in there, it's dramatically different there. So that's where it's like the demographics are dramatically changing on that. So when I look at that, when I look at buildings, mind you, I like growth. I like development. I think it's good for a city to have it. That's just a general statement I have out there. But I also see that every time we see a building going up or like that, it makes us leaner and leaner as a public safety agency. It just leads us out even more.
Chief, with the billion or $500 million coming in development, doesn't a good portion of that kick over to the city coffers?
To a certain extent, but remember, there's also tax benefits by doing developments like that, that the city will offer in order to entice people to come in. So I'm not sure how that works particularly, but I know that I've fallen victim to that in other organizations that I've worked at.
Here's a copy of your report.
I'm sorry, sorry, we'll give you Thomas's word.
Yeah, I've got one right here.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah,
Okay.
But I would ask, if you guys have any questions on operation type of stuff, if you really like the only way, when I articulate to people, it's always about funding and all that kind of stuff. But really, at the fire service, what does that mean for a citizen in the corner that's waiting for an ambulance to show up or that's stuck in a high-rise building that is on fire, even if it's not active fire, but just smoke in there? And I would lean on Commissioner Chung to kind of try to express what it's a necessity. We could probably spend half an hour on just splitting the truck route on how important that is. And basically it's splitting a 4-person company into 2 different groups. So we get work done a lot faster. But it's a concept that we don't have right now. We just have a 3-person company and I can't split anybody. But that makes a huge difference on the fire, on how fast we get in there, just by being able to split that group of the 2 different.
Getting one more person.
Getting one more person gives me 2 crews to be able, one to do ventilation, the other one's to do forcible entry and quickly do rescue, rather than we're doing, like right now, I have 2 people pulling hose lines and trying to do rescue at the same time. You can't be very efficient on that. So hugely important, like I said, and that's what I would ask that, Commissioner Chung keeps on educating you on why it's so important. So that way, when we are asked by citizens out there and that, you also can articulate what's the need, and this is the need. It's not just about more people like that. There's actually a strategic on why we do and our tactics. They're solely based on the amount of resources that we have available to us during that time.
Well, and actually last meeting was extremely informational because we as the lay people had no concept of the development that the city's really trying to undertake on a grand scale. That was like very eye-opening, that I would say 99.9% of the public isn't aware of the great need that you're facing.
And I don't want to sound like it's urgent that we got to do it now either. I just know what's coming. And for me, once again, as a fire chief, I need to be strategic on we do it and how do I ask for funding and budgeting. What I don't want to do in my previous organization, when we did standards of coverage, they said, you need 3 engine companies and 6 ambulances like right now. Great, where am I going to get those?
oh, I'm sorry, last thing to stress, is firefighter safety. You send that truck out there with no engine, there's a rescue. They're going in because that's what we do. And you're going in with a rescue with no hose line, it could be catastrophic.
Yes,
So I'll leave it at that.
yes.
We are no longer recording.
We are.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay, now I will say the meeting is officially over. You can stop recording.
Did you face those?
Okay, now that we have stopped recording,
Same.